Hey, it's Tori, and welcome back to my channel. Today we welcome Adrienne from Spires to the channel. How are you doing today, Adrienne?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I appreciate you taking the time out to come and chat with me today, of course, about your brand new album, A Fortress Called Home, which is out June 21st via Frontiers Music. So you've had 2 singles out so far from the album. How have you found the response from fans or even from people that are discovering you with this album?
I feel like the reception has been good. I had heard some interesting feedback about Almost Town, which was the first single we put out. Um, and I saw some comments that were like, "Wow, this is such a I'm so sorry about that. Such a different direction for Seven Spires," which I thought was sort of funny because when Jack and I were working on this song originally, we were like, "This is like right back to our roots. This is like all the stuff that we loved when we met 10 years ago." Um, but I think probably what it actually is, I mean, okay, if you found us during Gods of Debauchery and you're like, where's the mellow death or where are the blast beats,
Hmm.
then okay, I get it. But also, Jack was the one that mixed and mastered this album. So previously we had Sasha Payet from Avantasia, Masters of Ceremony, and many others. So maybe there's like a sonic difference that people just didn't think about. But in terms of architect of creation, I think this went pretty much as expected. It's always fun to put out something that's a bit more extreme, I guess, a little bit more unhinged, we could say, a bit
Yeah.
more like manic. So yeah, I would say that was cool.
I I really loved how you chose to go with like two different songs, like Almost Town. Whereas, you still had a bit of the harsh vocals in there, but then you came out with the second one, and that was just like a straight like punch to the face, and it was so harsh, and it was so like I described it as like the grim, like that grim fairy tale esque. Even with the music video and the looks and everything you had going on in there, it was just it was awesome, and I also got to familiarize myself before this interview and before chatting to you with the album, and I do feel like it is very fairy tale-esque led in a way, and also I feel like love is a big factor within it as well, within the vocals. Was that something that you guys did intentionally, or was that just something that sort of happened naturally as you were writing?
I think it just sort of happened naturally. You're you're not the first person that I've heard say this fairy tale thing.
Hmm.
Um, there's some other reactions that I like. I love watching the YouTube reactions to our music videos and stuff. But I heard this Brothers Grimm thing where it's like the OG fairy tales where like not everybody gets to live, not everybody has a happy ending. You don't always, yeah, it's not always nice. And this also was not intentional, but I think it's a really cool interpretation of. I mean, it is not inaccurate, I guess, considering like the scope of symphonic metal bands.
Hmm.
There are some that lean more towards like I don't know, a Disney-esque approach, and there are. I mean, I don't know if you really want to even consider Flesh God Apocalypse a symphonic metal band. I mean, they are,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I don't think that like focusing on love as a topic was something intentional either. But we always just write what feels right, and I guess that felt right. So
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
was going to ask you if you could go like delve more into it, the album, in your own words, and let people know what it's about.
I can certainly try. Um, well, gosh, I have to think about this. I mean, it is. I think it is sort of self-explanatory. I mean, the concept of a fortress called home. We have these. Everybody has these walls that they build around themselves, and then what's inside? What are we shielding? Are we protecting ourselves? Are we protecting others from ourselves? Maybe a little bit of both. Who could say? But I think it can be a guided journey through one's inner self, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I feel that like I mean, it is pretty self-explanatory after listening to it myself, and but it's also nice to hear that from your perspective, and because obviously you're the guys that wrote it, and I love when, even though like I've read that you went into like this deep darkness, and that's what your experiences are, and that's what you've written about. And I think it takes a lot of bravery to write about that sort of stuff, because it's not all rainbows and butterflies and happy. You know, life has these dark moments, and it's okay to go through those, so long as you can pull yourself out of it at the end of it. And to write about that and to put that into your music, it makes that connection greater as well for the fans, I think, because they realize that they're not alone in feeling what they're feeling, and that it's okay. So yeah, this album, I just, from playing it from the beginning all the way to the end, how you guys laid it out was just phenomenal. And it really, like, the storytelling aspects that you have behind everything. And I wanted to know, like, how you would describe, obviously you've been around for quite some time now, and there has been an evolution with the music and the sound. How would you describe that evolution?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. That was many nice things of you to say. Um, the evolution of the sound, I mean, I guess, well, first of all, I mean, from our first album, Solveig, we were teenagers when we worked
Hmm.
on it. I know it came out much later than the year when we finished writing and recording it. But I would say that our journey as musicians, developing our musicianship and our relationship with music and understanding and the way we communicate with it has, I would hope that that is evident. The amount of life experiences, I think, can also influence the things we write about, how we talk about them. And I think also just we all started delving deeper into the stuff that we individually like, in terms of like what we're listening to. And so
Hmm.
um yeah, I would say that we've always had both ends of the spectrum of like blast beats and screams, and we've also had like nice melodies and themic choruses and stuff like that. And I think we've continued to go in both directions, and maybe all directions, but just further than ever before.
Yeah.
And I think
It's,
every artist says that about their latest work, but that's truly how I feel.
well, I mean, it's true, because when you started out, it, like you say, you were teenagers, and you don't know who you are as a teen. You're still discovering who you are, and you guys have done that through your music, and it's great to see that growth of you becoming, even today, like, we still, if you don't keep growing, then, I think life's a bit pointless. You need to grow and evolve, and become whatever you're going to become. And I do see that, and I do hear that in your music. And like you were saying, pulling different inspirations from things that you guys enjoy. And I'm not going to spoil the song, but you do have one that's very jazzy in a way.
Yeah.
And that, I really, really adored that. And I'm not going to say anything more on it, because obviously it's not out, and it's not going to be out for quite some time. But I just loved how you guys did that, and you pulled from so many different things, because the world has all of this to offer, and you may as well put in what you guys love. And so that also leads me perfectly onto the next question of, like, what does the creative process look like for you, like when you're composing or you're writing?
Great question. The creative process, usually, I mean, we can start from many places and it yields different results. So, what I will explain now is the one that works best for me, but it doesn't mean it's the only one.
Hmm.
Um, Usually, when I'm on a tour or something, or I'm just like caught in my feelings, I'll do like an emotional brain dump into the notes app on my phone. This might be a red flag, but uh, at some point when I'm feeling ready to write some stuff, because I'm not going to carry my keyboard with me, and I used to bring my laptop on tour, and like with the optimistic thoughts of like, I'll write something every day, just a little. I didn't know we don't do that. That is just extra weight on my back. Anyway, so I gather these thoughts, and then when I get home or get to a resting place, I just try to see what strikes, see what from that note strikes me the most, and maybe I'll find a melody in it, or I'll like find some cool rhymes in it, and then some sort of like piano vocal idea will grow from that, and then I'll bring it to Jack, and then we'll sort of like flesh out the whole form, and then we'll work on the arrangement. Like, I think this should be blast beats, and then this should maybe be clean vocals, and I think this should be like a riffier part and maybe power chords here, or maybe we have like a string line that's taking the lead here. Oh, we don't know what to do with this. Actually, you know what would be perfect here? A sick bass line. Let's call Pete. So that's yeah. It's usually based in feelings and then grows accordingly.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you about, because I think about taking my laptop with me all the time, but then it's such a pain getting it through, especially the airport security. And then it's just, like you say, it's just an extra weight. And we have these tiny little devices now that do have the notes. And I don't think it's a red flag. I think it's a brilliant way to use what you have around you and just to put that in there. And because inspiration can come at any moment, you could literally just be sad after a show and something comes, you're like, oh, I need to make a note of that. You've got your phone right there. Why not use it to for that potential that you have? So I think that's a great way to go about it.
Okay.
What
I do
what
also like have random melody ideas, and I'll be like in a stairwell or something, because I don't know, sometimes during like when you hear the same thing at sound check, like somebody else's sound check every single day, I'm
Mhm.
like, that makes me think of like something. And then like I'll finally just like sing it poorly into my phone, and then my camera roll is just full of like videos of my feet like walking, or like a random hallway or something. And I'll like go back and look at it like, what is this? And then it'll be like, oh, wait, that's great. And then I'll come home and like work on it. So anyway, I'm glad you don't think it's a red flag.
No, no, not at all. I think it's a brilliant use of what you have with you, and also because I know what a pain it is to take something like a laptop with me overseas somewhere. You know, it's annoying, and so you may as well just use your phone if you have it.
Yeah.
What song on the album for you do you think was like the most challenging for you to write, but also sing on? If I don't know if they're separate or the same thing, or
I mean, there's technically speaking what's hard to sing, and then there's like what is a challenge.
emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, they're also all emotionally difficult. I mean, every
Yeah.
Spire song is like, "Ah, okay, well, here it is. Let's hit record and hope for the best." Um, I think the last song, "The Old Hurt of Being Left Behind," was. Mm, I don't know exactly if it was a challenge, but it was definitely very purging to write
Mhm.
it. Painful at times. Also, Love Souvenir. Um, the chorus of it wa- was this. I mean, this is just a hard song to sing in both ways. Um, some really, really high stuff, some crazy scream stuff. Also, the first time that I kind of brought this sort, I don't want to call it like a jazzy approach, because somebody's inevitably going to be like, you don't sound like Ella Fitzgerald, blah, blah, but whatever. First time that I think I really bring something like that to a Spires record, and there's a lot of new techniques all over the record, but that one's full of some stuff.
Yeah, because it is so jam packed full of stuff. I think it's one of my favorites on the album because I mean, the whole album takes us on a musical journey, but there's just that one in particular where it starts out one way but ends a completely different way. And I was listening to it while getting ready, and I was like, what is this? Is insane. And then not only that, but on all of the songs, you've got so many vocal layers within your own vocals, and of course you do your beautiful cleans, but then you can get really down and dirty and grungy and heavy with it, and just being able to pick out all of these like different layers that you have. I know you just recently released the isolated vocals on on your social media, and it's so amazing listening to what went into it and the thought process behind that.
Thanks. It was, I mean, it's almost like a game sometimes. It's the same thing with like orchestral arrangements and stuff, but it's like, what can we do? How is this going to make the most emotional impact? And then what do we have to do in order to make that happen? And sometimes it's just like like thickening the melody by um, having extra layers. But sometimes it's like this really needs to have like 3-part harmony because I want it to.
Right. So do you have a personal favorite from the album?
Oh man, it changes every day.
I bet.
I have to say I do really like the first song.
Mhm.
Not A Fortress Called Home, but why am I forgetting the name? Na, 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 na. The one with Ale on it.
Yeah, I
What?
know which one you mean. I just can't think of it either right now. I'll put a little title.
I can't even remember the names of my own songs. Okay, listen, I have like 5 hours of repertoire in my brain right now just for like the
Right.
summer's activity, and I don't even remember the names of the songs. Songs upon wine-stained tongues. There it is. This one, this one brings me so much joy, not only because of the guest,
Mhm.
but because it, even though it kind of is a song about the terror of like opening yourself
Mhm.
and hoping that you don't get hurt again, but it's also like that's such a beautiful thing, and I don't know, it's just such a fun song, and yeah, there's a lot of hope there, I would say.
Yeah, it is a very scary thing, especially if you've been through like a toxic relationship and then you've come out of that and it may have been years or months or however long it's taken you to come out and you're finally ready to accept love again and it's so scary and it's I mean, we've all been there, and I just love that you guys talk about these, sing about these personal things that do go on in life, and that's why I love you guys. And like deviating away from the album a little bit, of course, I got to see you last year in May when you were touring with LZtv, and your energy on stage, not only with Seven Spires, but then taking Kriegel's position on some songs in LZtv. Like, how did you do that? How did you mentally prepare for that?
As best I could. They emailed us or me or whatever. They were like, I was at the end of another tour in Europe. It was Spires and Twilight Force and Silver Bullet, and they're like, "Hey, it's not long until the tour, but we have a problem. Can you fix
Hmm.
it?" And I was like, "Sure, I will be happy to." Because also, like, if he can't be there, the tour doesn't happen. Of course, I want it to happen, and I'm always happy to help if I can. So it was very nice that they asked, and then the tour finished, and I was staying at Sasha's place, and we were during the daytime we were working on the new Masters record, and then during the nighttime, I was cramming the Elu songs, and then on the first day of tour, we were in Baltimore. I still remember. We basically tried to do our sound checks, but there were technical problems everywhere, and the one of the band members who had the visa that let everybody else's visa work had like some flight problems, and so he wasn't able to arrive until much later. And so I didn't actually get to practice with them at all. We played half of Deathwalker in a quick sound check, and then the first time that I actually played through the songs with them was in front of everybody.
Wow.
But honestly, it turned out great, and they're wonderful people, and I had a great time, and everyone was like, I also Yuka from Omnium Gatherum was
Hmm.
helping with the Kriegel songs. He didn't come to Mexico, so in the end, I did all of the songs there. But I think everyone was just like happy that the tour could work, and then the vibes were so nice, and yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. It was nice to see you and Fabi up on stage together, just rocking it. And because being a woman and of course this scene is very male dominated, but then seeing two women up on stage doing their thing, and even though I did miss Krugel, of course, and not having him there, but you really took it in your stride, and you really did a fantastic job. And not only because you had your set to do with Seven Spires, but then you have to come back and learn Elvadi's tracks and do those, and it blew me away, honestly. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, for doing that for the band, and just for just being amazing about it, even though that was like last year. But
Well, I mean, thank you for saying such nice things about it. It was I think still one of my favorite tours, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about touring, you've been, of course, doing the Sonic Symphony. How did you get involved with this project, and how has the tour been?
This is a crazy story. They called me in December of last year while I was recording vocals for a fortress called Home, and they're like, "Hey, our singer can't really make it. Can you learn? Can you do it?" And I was like, I'm in the studio right now, and I'll have 10 days to learn the stuff, but sure, I can do it." So I learned an hour of music in 10 days afterwards, and it was also like it was a horrible time. I mean, my mom had just called me to be like, yeah, doctors said they can't really treat your grandma anymore, and we don't know how much time. And this album is so like gut wrenching. And so I was like, for weeks, I was like just in this pit of bad stuff. And then the freaking Sonic Symphony is like, hey, do you want to come sing video game music with like a rock band and an orchestra? And it turned out the bass player and the drummer, I had worked with them before, when I did some stuff for Jeff Williams' freelance orchestra back in like 2016, 17, which he was the composer for the American anime Ruby from Rooster Teeth. And so that's how they knew about me. And during the after party from the first show, the band leader came to me and he was like, "All right, congratulations, you're in. Can you do the rest of the shows? We want to have you for as many of them as we can." And I was like, that was easy. Thank you. So yeah, that's how I got involved, and it's super super fun. I've been a gamer my whole life, so it's like I did not have this on my bingo card as the way that this childhood joy would manifest into adulthood, but I'm very happy that this is the
Yeah.
case.
I'm also a huge gamer, so I understand how that must feel to be, especially doing them with a little bit of like a twist on them, and then being able to sing them, and it looks like such a fun tour.
It definitely is. And it's a different type of tour than I'm used to, because it's like we fly out for one show and then I get to go home. So it's like 3 days and
Yeah.
I don't have to like sleep in a van or on a bus for like a month. It's very comfortable. Uh, Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You get to reset a little bit in between the shows, and because there's nothing like being at home, because I am very introverted myself, and yes, I love going to shows, and yes, I love like meeting people, but there's just nothing like being home and being in your own home comforts, and sometimes you don't want to wear makeup, you don't want to get dressed up, you just want to veg around on the couch and just
That's
have a
right.
mental health day, and
Oh, she knows.
yeah. And you can't do that when you're touring, or if you're visiting, even if you're visiting family, you just feel like you can't really do that. And then you get home, you're just like, "Ugh, I just want to do absolutely nothing today but binge whatever or play whatever and just,
Mhm. Be gross, order
eat
takeout.
crappy." Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No
speaking of,
makeup. Sorry.
exactly, some days I'm just like, I really don't feel like putting on a face today, so I'm just not gonna. I'll take a shower, but I'm not gonna put on a face, and I'm just gonna
Mhm.
be in my comfy PJs all day, and yeah. So,
Yep. Totally.
have you had any like particular moments? Because of course, you guys have just also done your European tour that have stood out to you so far, whether that's been like a fan interaction or just something that's happened on tour that has been memorable.
There are many,
I
many
bet.
things that happen honestly, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is we brought Dylan Gowan out with us, and he, as you know, we have been on the look for a new drummer,
Hmm.
and Dylan's audition was amazing. So we called him to see about his availability, and we brought him to Boston to do rehearsals with us for this tour. And he just was such an amazing person, great player, very good with taking suggestions, takes everything super seriously, extremely hardworking, and he travels so well. And I mean, this was actually probably the highlight of that tour. Was like, wow, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was super memorable, and I hope that it won't just be a memory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
take our time with these things, but
Right.
he's been great, and I think we will even see him tomorrow, because tomorrow I will leave here for the Camelot shows with Spires. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to those? I was going to ask you about those too.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I think it's not a secret that I just love Camelot. They were one of my most you too. Yeah, they were one of my most listened to bands like since high school. Actually, them and Avantasia were like heavily in my heavy rotation. And yeah, it's super cool that they were like they called us and were like, "Hey, Hammerfall can't make it. Can you?" This call actually also it was an email, but they emailed us about this during that same week in December when I was like in my dark hole, and
Mhm.
Sonic called and was like, "Hey, do you want to do this childhood thing that you didn't even know you always wanted to do?" And then Camelot calls and was like, "Hey, we need you to help us." And this is so that was a wild month. But anyway,
That's kind of like the world trying to like pull you out of what was going on and trying to like give you a little bit of lightness and saying, "Hey, we've got this for you." And because Camelot has been one of those bands that has shaped who I am as well. And
wow. Okay.
because I got to see them for the first time last year, and I live in North Carolina right now, and I flew out to Houston to see them in Houston, and I cried because that was the first time I've seen them, and I've liked them since I was like if 17, 18 or something like that, you know, when Roy was still a part of the band, and then of course Roy left and now we have the brilliant Tommy, and it's just they just put on such a magnificent show, and being able to tour with a band that really truly inspired you and is a big part of your life, it must be absolutely magical just to go out and to be on that same stage and then get to introduce them as well, because obviously you're supporting.
I think it will be. I'll let you know. Um, yeah, it's. I do think. I do think it was a case of the universe was like,
Mhm.
I see you're going through it. I know you're working hard. And this is something one of my college professors told me was like, it's sad to be ready, not be called, but it's a tragedy to be called and not be ready. And this was one of those times where it was like, well, I might be going through it, but at least I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your grandmother. I recently just lost mine in December, so I can
Oh,
understand what you're feeling, and it sucks, and it's, you know, they're getting to that age where you just can't do anything about it, but you know, we have these avenues that we can pour our emotions into, and that's what you've done with the album. I'm not going to keep you much longer because I know you're busy, and like you say, you're leaving tomorrow,
that's right. I have to
right?
pack today.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm going to let you go. Do you have any last words for people watching this interview?
I mean, as always, just to say thank you very much for everybody who supports us and comes to shows and tells their friends. I really think that getting a recommendation from your friend is so much more powerful than any paid advertisement. So that is so appreciated, just as much as pre-ordering the record, pre-ordering our merchandise. Also, thank you for continuing to support small artists in every other way, and people like Tauri. I think it's a the music industry has changed so much in the last 10 years, and I mean, I think we all have a very important part in the musical ecosystem these days. So always super grateful to be here, to be doing it, and be doing it with everybody that's doing it with me. So that's what I have to say. I hope to see everybody at the Camelot shows, and if not there, then definitely in Japan in December. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much as well for taking the time out. Of course, everybody, I will leave the pre-order link for the album down in the description, along with all of Seven Spires links to where you can find them on their social medias, on YouTube, and all of that good stuff. Adrienne, thank you so much for this chat. It's been absolutely lovely, and I appreciate you for taking the time out. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you very much. Bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a Taurian. Speaking of becoming a Taurian, all of my social media links and my Discord link are down in the description. We'd absolutely love to have you come hang out in the Discord community, and I will see you guys in the next video. Rock on.